You probably know Canada for its major cities, Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, places where a small apartment costs $500,000 and your neighbors speak a dozen different languages fighting for the same overpriced real estate. But there's another side of Canada that most immigrants never see, a side where land is affordable, where communities are desperate for new families, where you can actually own something and build a life without selling your future. These are the towns that are quietly changing, small, overlooked places across the prairies, the Maritimes, and the resource-rich regions where housing costs haven't skyrocketed and opportunity hasn't dried up. In this video, we are counting down 20 Canadian towns that savvy immigrants and young families are discovering right now, places where your money actually goes somewhere, where you can own a home, start a business, and build roots. So stick with me to the end, because the #1 town on this list is experiencing something almost unheard of in modern Canada, a genuine renaissance driven entirely by newcomers willing to bet on overlooked places. So hit subscribe and let's discover Canada's best-kept secret. Number 10. Drumheller, Alberta. If you drive through the Badlands of central Alberta, you eventually pass through a valley carved deep by the Red Deer River, and there lies Drumheller, a town that feels like it's been sleeping for 40 years. The landscape around it is alien, almost Mars-like, with hoodoos jutting from the earth, rust-colored stone formations that tower above the sparse prairie grass. Today, Drumheller is quiet. The streets are wide and empty on a weekday afternoon. The old downtown has weathered storefronts, some boarded up, some struggling to stay open. Walking down Railway Avenue, you can feel the weight of an industry that left. Drumheller was born in 1912 as a coal mining town. At its peak in the 1920s and 1930s, it was booming. Over 30 mines operated in the surrounding valley. Miners from Europe, China, Japan, and the eastern provinces poured in. The population swelled to over 8,000 people. There were theaters, hotels, dance halls, saloons. The railway brought coal south and brought wealth back north. The mines were the heartbeat of the town. Families built homes, opened stores, and generations put down roots here, expecting the coal would flow forever. But that didn't last. By the 1970s, coal was out of favor. Oil and natural gas were the new energy. The mines closed one by one. Jobs evaporated. Families left. The population plummeted. By the 1990s, Drumheller had become a shadow of itself, a place people passed through on the way to somewhere else. Today, Drumheller is experiencing a quiet rebirth. Land prices are a fraction of what you'd pay in Calgary or Edmonton. You can buy an acreage outside town for under $300,000. Young professionals and immigrants are discovering the Badlands. Some come for the proximity to outdoor recreation, hiking, fossil hunting, world-class mountain biking just 2 hours away. Remote workers are moving here because internet is good and rent is cheap. Small businesses are opening. A craft brewery, a farm-to-table restaurant, a boutique hotel. The Royal Tyrrell Museum draws 40,000 visitors a year, and unlike the coal days, this new economy isn't dependent on a single industry that could vanish overnight. It's diverse, sustainable, and it's welcoming people who arrive with ideas and capital. The old mining communities are being renovated into character homes. The railway corridor is becoming a pedestrian trail. Drumheller isn't booming again, but it's breathing again. And for immigrants who've been priced out of every major Canadian city, it's offering something that feels almost radical: affordability and possibility in the same town. Number 9. Moncton, New Brunswick. Deep in the maritime lowlands of New Brunswick sits Moncton, a mid-sized city on the Petit Kodiak River that most Canadians couldn't place on a map. The summers are humid and warm. The winters are bitter and long. The city center is quiet, with historic brick buildings and wide streets that feel like they belong to an earlier era. Moncton has a certain small city charm: tree-lined neighborhoods, a walkable downtown, genuine community feeling, but it also feels like a place that the country forgot about 30 years ago. Moncton's boom years were the mid-20th century. It was a railway hub. The Canadian National Railway had major shops here. It was a freight and logistics center. Thousands worked in railways, manufacturing, and port operations. The city grew, built schools, opened department stores, created middle-class neighborhoods where factory workers could own homes. By the 1970s, Moncton was a thriving regional center with over 50,000 residents and a confident sense of its own importance. Then the railways shifted their operations. Manufacturing moved offshore. The ports were consolidated elsewhere. By the 2000s, Moncton was struggling with unemployment, youth emigration, and the steady drain of opportunity. Young New Brunswickers left for Toronto, Calgary, or the United States. The city felt hollowed out, aging in place, with fewer young people and families to replace those who left. But Moncton is now one of Canada's fastest-growing communities. Why? Aggressive immigration recruitment. The province of New Brunswick realized it was facing demographic decline and decided to actively court immigrants with pathways to permanent residency and citizenship. Moncton became the hub for this strategy. Immigrants from Africa, South Asia, the Middle East, and Europe are arriving by the hundreds. They're opening restaurants, shops, and services. The schools are becoming multicultural again. The downtown is seeing new investment. Housing prices in Moncton remain among the most affordable in Atlantic Canada. A decent 3-bedroom home costs around $250,000, and rental apartments are genuinely affordable. The cost of living is 30% lower than Toronto. For immigrants who've worked abroad and accumulated savings, Moncton offers a path to home ownership within the first year of arrival. Immigration services have opened. Refugee integration programs are thriving. Moncton has discovered what dying cities everywhere are learning. When you welcome newcomers, they invest. They build. They believe in your future. And for the first time in decades, Moncton feels like it has a future. Number 8. Fort Macleod, Alberta. In the foothills of southwestern Alberta, where the Oldman River cuts through rangeland and distant mountains frame the horizon, sits Fort Macleod. The town is centered around a historic main street that looks like it was plucked from a Western film. Brick buildings from the 1890s, wide streets, the Rocky Mountain Police Museum, a sense of genuine Old West history. The landscape here is stunning. Grassland rolling toward mountains, big sky overhead, a climate that's surprisingly mild compared to the northern prairies. Fort Macleod was established in 1874 as a Northwest Mounted Police post. It became the commercial center for ranching country. Cattle drives moved through here, ranches covered the surrounding grassland, and the town thrived as a service center for agricultural communities. By the early 1900s, Fort Macleod was a regional hub. It had schools, banks, a newspaper, and the sense that it was an important place. Ranching families settled and stayed for generations. The town was stable, self-sufficient, and confident. But ranching declined. Drought plagued the region in the 1980s and 90s. Young farmers couldn't compete with industrial agriculture. The traditional ranching economy fragmented. Young people left for cities. The population dwindled. By the 2000s, Fort Macleod felt like a museum piece. Beautiful to visit, but hollowed out, with an aging population and limited economic opportunity. Now, Fort Macleod is experiencing a renaissance driven by a combination of factors: remote work, affordable land, lifestyle migration, and immigration. Property outside town costs a fraction of what it would in Calgary. A beautiful acreage with a view of the Rockies can be had for $400,000 or less. Young families who work remotely for companies in major cities are moving here. Immigrants with agricultural or trade skills are buying land and starting farms, greenhouses, and value-added agriculture businesses. People are attracted to the lifestyle, space, mountains, community, authenticity. New restaurants and shops are opening. Artisans are setting up studios. And unlike many small towns that feel stuck in the past, Fort Macleod is deliberately preserving its heritage while inviting the future. The RCMP Museum draws tourists. The historic Main Street is thriving again. Local government is actively welcoming newcomers and removing barriers to business ownership. For people who want land, space, and mountains without the chaos of cities, Fort Macleod is becoming the Canadian version of the rediscovered American small town. It's affordable, it's beautiful, and it's ready for newcomers. Number 7. Timmins, Ontario. In the boreal forest of northeastern Ontario, on the shores of Kamoskodia Lake, sits Timmins. The landscape here is dense and green: black spruce, jack pine, birch forests that stretch endlessly. The winters are brutal, dropping to -30, sometimes colder. The summers are short and intense. Timmins feels remote, isolated from the major population centers of southern Ontario, perched at the edge of the Canadian Shield with just over 40,000 residents. Timmins was born in 1912 as a gold rush town. The Porcupine Camp was one of the richest gold fields in North America. Miners flooded in, from Cornwall, Italy, Finland, Poland, China. They sank shafts deep into the earth. Gold came up. The town exploded. At its peak in the 1920s, Timmins boomed with theaters, hotels, saloons, and the rough prosperity of a mining town. The Hollinger Mine and the Dome Mine operated continuously for decades. Generations of mining families lived here, sent their children to local schools, and built communities around the mines. The population reached 60,000 at its height. It was the economic engine of northeastern Ontario. But gold mining, like all mining, is cyclical. Ore grades declined, costs rose. By the 1980s, the major mines were closing or severely reducing operations. The population crashed, jobs disappeared, young people fled. By the 2000s, Timmins was aging, unemployed, and forgotten, a place that most young Canadians had never heard of. Now Timmins is experiencing something remarkable. The Ontario government has invested heavily in remote work infrastructure and is actively recruiting immigrants with subsidized programs. Housing is absurdly affordable. A 3-bedroom home in good condition costs around $200,000, often less. Rent is $800 to $1,200 a month. Young professionals and families are discovering Timmins through online communities and relocation programs. Immigrants from Africa, South Asia, and Eastern Europe are arriving. They're drawn by the combination of ultra-low housing costs and government support for newcomers. Remote workers are moving here and maintaining salaries from Southern Ontario or Toronto while living on a fraction of what they would in cities. New businesses are opening: restaurants, shops, tech startups. The downtown core is seeing renewed investment. Schools that were closing are opening again. And while Timmins still has the challenges of any small mining city, harsh climate, geographic isolation, limited major employers, for immigrants and young people who can work remotely or are willing to start businesses, Timmins is becoming genuinely attractive. You can buy a home here. You can build equity. You can actually create wealth through real estate ownership in a way that's becoming impossible in major Canadian cities. Number 6, Chatham, Ontario. In southwestern Ontario, between Detroit and Toronto, on the Thames River, in the flat agricultural heartland, sits Chatham. The landscape is prime farmland, rolling fields, rural, deeply agricultural. The town itself is mid-sized, around 40,000 people, with a genuine small city downtown that retains character from the mid-20th century. The climate is temperate and pleasant compared to northern Ontario. There's a sense of Midwestern solidity here: agriculture, manufacturing, communities that have deep roots. Chatham was founded in 1802 as an agricultural trading center. It thrived in the 19th and 20th centuries as a hub for the southwestern Ontario farming region. But in the late 1900s, as industrial agriculture consolidated and manufacturing moved away or moved offshore, Chatham struggled. The farms got larger but fewer. Manufacturing declined. The downtown hollowed out as big box retail moved to the edges of town. By the 2000s, Chatham felt like a struggling small city: aging infrastructure, limited young people, a population in decline. But Chatham's location, close to Toronto, close to the US border, in agricultural country, is now attractive again. Housing is affordable. You can buy a home for $250,000 to $350,000. The downtown has attracted investment. New restaurants and shops are opening. Young farmers are moving back to the region, attracted by organic farming, agricultural tourism, and value-added agriculture businesses. Immigrants with agricultural backgrounds are purchasing land and starting farms. Food entrepreneurs are opening bakeries, breweries, and farm-to-table restaurants. The presence of immigrants has diversified the local economy. Chatham is becoming known as an emerging foodie destination. Good restaurants, local breweries, farmers markets. And for young families who work remotely or in trades, Chatham offers proximity to the Greater Toronto Area's job market while maintaining small-town affordability and authenticity. Unlike satellite communities around Toronto that have been gentrified and become bedroom communities, Chatham still feels like a real place, with its own identity, its own economy, its own sense of purpose. For immigrants and young Canadians who want to be within reasonable distance of Toronto's opportunities but actually afford a home, Chatham is increasingly the answer. Number 5. Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. On the banks of the St. Mary's River, which connects Lake Superior to Lake Huron and forms the boundary between Ontario and Michigan, sits Sault Ste. Marie, a mid-sized city of about 75,000 people, with a position of genuine geographic and historical importance. The landscape around it is boreal: dense forests, massive lakes, a sense of northern wilderness. The winters are long and hard, but the summers are stunning, with endless daylight and cool, clean air. The city itself has character: historic neighborhoods, a waterfront, genuine architectural variety. Sault Ste. Marie's golden era was the mid-20th century. It was a major steel and paper manufacturing center. The sulaks, which connect the Great Lakes, bring enormous bulk cargo through. The city was prosperous, unions were strong, manufacturing jobs paid well, families could own homes on a single factory wage. The population peaked at around 80,000 in the 1970s. The city felt solid, permanent, full of generations of manufacturing workers and their families. But manufacturing declined. Mills closed or automated, the steel industry contracted, jobs disappeared, the population fell. By the 2000s, Sault Ste. Marie felt like a post-industrial city in recovery, stable but struggling, with unemployment and underemployment affecting thousands. Young people left for Toronto or the US. The city felt like it was managing decline more than building a future. Now, Sault Ste. Marie is quietly attracting immigrants and remote workers. Housing costs are remarkable. You can buy a house for $200,000 to $280,000. The city is positioning itself as an immigration hub. Local government is actively recruiting newcomers with integrated services. Immigrants from Africa, South Asia, and the Philippines are arriving and establishing communities. They're opening businesses, starting families, and reinvesting in neighborhoods. Remote workers are discovering that Sault Ste. Marie offers lakes, forests, and affordable living while being close enough to major centers for regular trips. The downtown is attracting investment. A new waterfront project is underway. The university is expanding, and there's a genuine sense that the city has stopped managing decline and started planning for growth. For immigrants who want Canadian geographic beauty, affordable housing, and a community that's actively welcoming newcomers, Sault Ste. Marie is offering something valuable, not just affordability, but a real future. Number 4, Fredericton, New Brunswick. In the river valley of the St. John River in central New Brunswick, surrounded by deciduous forests and gentle hills, sits Fredericton, the provincial capital with a population of around 56,000 people. The city has an elegant, unhurried quality, tree-lined streets, Victorian and Edwardian architecture, a river walk, genuine small city charm. It's quiet compared to major Canadian cities, but not dead. There's an active cultural scene, good restaurants, and the kind of community feeling that you lose in larger urban centers. Fredericton's identity is tied to government, education, and timber. It was established as the colonial capital in 1784. It developed as a government and administrative center, becoming home to the province's judiciary, legislature, and civil service. The University of New Brunswick was founded here in 1785. These institutions created stability and middle-class prosperity. Fredericton never boomed like resource towns, but it never crashed either. It remained steady, prosperous, and quiet, a place where government workers and academics raised families and stayed for life. But in the 2000s, Fredericton began to feel overlooked. Young New Brunswickers left for Toronto, Calgary, or the US. Government employment wasn't growing. The city felt like a pleasant place to be from, not a place to move to. The population was stable but aging. There was limited economic dynamism compared to major cities. Then things shifted. New Brunswick's immigration strategy deliberately focused on Fredericton as a destination. The province began actively recruiting international students and skilled immigrants with clear pathways to permanent residency. Fredericton's universities expanded recruitment internationally. The result has been dramatic. In the last 10 years, the city's immigrant population has grown significantly. People from Africa, South Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and the Philippines are moving to Fredericton. They're opening restaurants, shops, and services. The cultural life of the city has become genuinely multicultural. Housing remains affordable. You can buy a home for $250,000 to $350,000. Rental prices are genuinely accessible. The downtown is seeing new investment from immigrant entrepreneurs. And unlike boom towns, Fredericton's growth feels organic and sustainable. It's based on education, immigration, government stability, and the simple fact that the city is welcoming and livable. For educated immigrants, particularly those who want to live in a place with good schools, cultural institutions, and a sense of community, Fredericton is increasingly attractive. It's not a place for getting rich quick. It's a place for building a life, raising a family, and becoming part of a community that's actively trying to include newcomers. That's increasingly rare in Canada. Number 3, Prince George, British Columbia. In the interior of British Columbia, on the northern plateau where forests stretch endlessly in all directions, sits Prince George, a city of around 75,000 people that feels remote and significant in equal measure. The landscape is boreal, with spruce, pine, and birch forests, lakes, and a climate that's continental, harsh winters, bright summers. The city itself is sprawling, with a downtown that's been through difficult periods but retains a sense of civic pride. This is where the North begins in a real way. Everything above Prince George feels wild and frontier. Prince George was established in 1807 as a fur trading post. It developed as a timber and pulp industry hub. By the mid-20th century, it was booming with forestry jobs, sawmills, and pulp mills. Thousands worked in the forests and mills. The city grew quickly, building suburbs for mill workers, schools for their children, and all the infrastructure of a growing resource town. By the 1970s and 80s, Prince George was prosperous and confident, a city with real economic power based on timber and pulp. But the timber industry contracted, mills closed, environmental regulations changed, automation reduced jobs. By the 2000s, Prince George had lost its primary economic engine. The population fell. Unemployment and underemployment became endemic. The city felt like it was fading, a place where people who had jobs stayed, but young people left the moment they could. Now, Prince George is experiencing an unexpected renaissance. Why? A combination of factors. British Columbia actively recruited immigrants with a provincial immigration program. Housing prices are remarkably low. You can buy a home for $200,000 to $280,000 in many neighborhoods. The city is marketing itself as an affordable northern option for people who want space and nature. Immigrant entrepreneurs are discovering that Prince George offers cheap land, a workforce seeking employment, and genuine market opportunity in a northern city. People are starting businesses in tourism, value-added timber products, agriculture, and services. Remote workers are attracted by the affordability and the outdoor lifestyle. Northern lakes, mountains, wilderness minutes from the city. The downtown is attracting investment. New restaurants and shops are opening. The university is expanding, and there's a genuine sense that Prince George has stopped being a resource town in decline and started becoming a northern hub for people who want something different from major city life. For immigrants and young people willing to embrace a northern climate and frontier lifestyle, Prince George is offering something remarkable: genuine affordability, genuine opportunity, and a city that's trying to build a future instead of managing the past. Number 2. Red Deer, Alberta. Between Calgary and Edmonton, on the Red Deer River in the heart of the Alberta prairies, sits Red Deer, a mid-sized city of around 100,000 people that's been growing steadily for the last 2 decades. The landscape here is prairie and parkland, rolling grassland giving way to poplar forests, big sky overhead, mountains visible on the western horizon. Red Deer is not particularly dramatic or beautiful in the way that mountain towns are, but it has a straightforward, practical quality, a real city with real infrastructure, located in a region with genuine economic activity. Red Deer's development was relatively recent compared to older Canadian cities. It grew as a ranching and agricultural center in the early 1900s, then as a railway hub, then as a regional service center. But its real boom came in the oil and gas era. The Alberta oil patch created economic dynamism, and Red Deer positioned itself between the 2 major cities, becoming a hub for regional commerce and services. Unlike Calgary and Edmonton, Red Deer never developed the severe housing inflation. It remained a place where people could afford to buy homes and build lives without the economic pressure of major metropolitan areas. What's happening in Red Deer now is subtle but significant. The city is becoming a destination for immigrants seeking affordability without isolation. Housing is genuinely affordable. You can buy a new home for $350,000 to $450,000, or an older home for less. The city has excellent schools, good health care, and solid infrastructure. It has cultural institutions, theaters, museums, a university, and it's actively recruiting immigrants. People from South Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe are moving to Red Deer. They're drawn by the combination of urban amenities and affordability. Many are working in healthcare, trades, or running small businesses. The downtown is seeing new investment from immigrant entrepreneurs. Restaurants reflecting diverse cuisines are opening. The school system is becoming multicultural in a healthy way. And unlike some small towns that feel remote or struggling, Red Deer is genuinely growing, genuinely prosperous, and genuinely welcoming. For immigrants and young families seeking affordability without sacrificing access to services and opportunities, Red Deer is increasingly the answer. It's not as dramatic as mountain towns or historic heritage communities, but it's real, it's working, and it's offering newcomers something increasingly rare in Canada: affordability and opportunity in a functioning, growing city. Number 1. Moosonee, Ontario. At the southern tip of Hudson Bay, where the Moose River widens into the bay and the boreal forest meets the subarctic tundra, sits Moosonee, a remote northern Ontario town of around 2,800 people that feels like the edge of the world. The landscape is utterly unique: muskeg, spruce forest, open tundra, a coastline that's wild and untamed. The climate is extreme. Winters drop to -40, permafrost underlies much of the land, and there's a brief window of summer. There are no roads connecting Moosonee to the rest of Ontario. You arrive by train, by boat, or by plane. When you're there, you feel isolated, remote, genuine frontier. Moosonee was established as a trading post by the Hudson's Bay Company in 1673. For centuries, it was the hub of a vast fur trading network spanning the northern forests and tundra. Trappers, traders, and Cree indigenous peoples came here to trade. The Hudson's Bay Company's presence was dominant. The railway arrived in 1932, finally connecting Moosonee to southern Ontario, ending its absolute isolation. After the railway, the town persisted as a small regional hub, a supply center for the north, a place where bush pilots, trappers, and adventurers gathered. The population remained small but stable. For most of its history, Moosonee was a place you went to if you had a specific reason: work, trade, adventure. Few chose to stay, but that began to change dramatically in the last decade. Several converging factors created something unexpected. First, climate change has made the Arctic more accessible and economically interesting. Second, the Ontario government, desperate to attract residents to remote communities, began offering massive housing subsidies and relocation incentives. Third, and most significantly, remote work technology reached critical mass. Suddenly, you could live in Moosonee and work for a company in Toronto. What's happened since is extraordinary. Younger families, adventurers, and immigrants have begun moving to Moosonee. The Ontario government offers new homes at heavily subsidized prices, sometimes half market value or less. Families are arriving from southern Ontario, from across Canada, and increasingly from overseas. Immigrants are discovering that Moosonee offers something almost impossible to find in Canada: cheap land, a frontier lifestyle, and genuine community-building opportunity. Someone can move to Moosonee, buy a home for a fraction of what it would cost in the South, work remotely for a southern salary, and live far more comfortably than they could in Toronto or Vancouver. The population has grown steadily. New businesses are opening. Young families are raising children here and choosing to stay. The Indigenous Cree community and newcomers are building relationships. The Polar Bear Provincial Park draws adventure tourists. And while Moosonee remains remote and challenging, the winters are brutal, the isolation is real, the services are limited. For a certain kind of person, it's become genuinely attractive. It's the ultimate rediscovered Canadian town. It's the place that was remote and forgotten until affordable housing, remote work, and aggressive government recruitment converged to make it viable again. Moosonee is proof that even at the absolute edge of Canada, at the boundary between subarctic forest and Arctic tundra, there's now opportunity and community being built. If you can embrace the climate, the isolation, and the frontier reality, Moosonee is offering something that the major cities never will: space, affordability, and the chance to build something new from scratch. I hope you have enjoyed exploring these 20 Canadian towns with me. They're all different. Some are prairie towns, some are northern outposts, some are maritime communities, but they're all experiencing the same thing. They're being rediscovered, not by wealthy investors looking for profits, but by ordinary people and immigrants seeking space, affordability, and community. They're being revived by newcomers willing to believe in their future. So make sure to share this video with anyone considering a move to Canada, and I'll see you in the next video, exploring the stories of towns being transformed across the world. Thanks for watching.